Change requests are submitted to prompt a user or team to carry out some sort of change in the IT infrastructure. Broadly, it can mean many things, from upgrading a server to changing an IP address range. CRs have a life cycle. They're assigned to users, delegated to others. The status is updated as the work progresses. They're approved and finally closed. In the context of process automation and remediation, change requests are important because fixing a problem might be necessary before restarting a job with a failed status. We can effectively orchestrate work done and recorded in ServiceNow with IT operations. Automic provides native capabilities to orchestrate its processes with ServiceNow GET requests. Actions retrieve values and store them in variables. Consequently, it's very easy to build a post condition that pulls for any value and then withholds execution based on this value. In this respect, we have one important action, Get CR Approval Status, which can determine if a CR has been approved. We'll condition an Automic process on the state of the approval using post conditions. Let's provide some context. Currently, the Automic REST agent is not capable of polling for the content of response, which means that Automic cannot rely on the agent to withhold a task. We're currently working on this, and this capability should be available in the near future. However, you can orchestrate processes between Automic and ServiceNow. After all, Automic has a REST API, and ServiceNow offers trigger functions to post back to us. However, this is outside the scope of this course because it requires a good command of ServiceNow, which is not something we can take for granted if you're an Automic designer. There are easier, albeit slightly roundabout ways to handle this using the response of a GET request. We create a change request. This CR needs to be approved by an authorized body in the ServiceNow environment. We'll have Automic poll for the CR status using post conditions. Until the status is set to approved, the job will wait. Note that the CR cannot be approved unless you designate an assignment group. We'll store this group in a variable since it won't change. When the CR is created, it's given a system ID, which Automic obtains as part of the response. It's stored in a variable, which means the second job will know what CR to target. The second job, Get Approval Status, is a simple jobs object, so it won't require an agent since it will retrieve that information from the override agent variable. When the task executes, ServiceNow posts the status of the approval, which will be stored in a variable called Approval Status. Unfortunately, this only happens once, as the REST agent cannot pull, and so we'll build post conditions. While the status is different from approved, the task is resubmitted every minute unless it's rejected, in which case we'll block it. Obviously, this is extremely simplistic and not optimized. There's no error or timeout handling, but we're confident that equipped with this basic knowledge, experienced Automic users will be able to improve upon it and design a more elegant system. We followed the same process and created CR tasks, one create and one for the approval status. Other actions include assign the CR, attach file, update, and so forth. We've added the assignment group variable and value, which is a requirement for the CRs. Values for URL, authentication, and agent are the same. The only prompt that matters is the third from the top, which sets query parameters. These are specific to the create CR action. We've already specified the assignment group. Notice the description. The Get Approval Status task is a GET request that sources the CR based on the current system ID passed to the workflow by the predecessor at activation. The request produces a number of values as part of the response, such as the status, which is stored in the approval status variable. Finally, this is the post condition. It's tested after the request is submitted. If the status variable is not approved, then the task restarts every minute on a cyclical basis. This is our makeshift polling process. If the status is ever set to rejected, then we block the workflow. We execute the workflow with the ServiceNow CR page displayed at the bottom. The Create CR task completes immediately, while the second action is waiting for something. Let's refresh ServiceNow. The new CR has been created, and the fields match the design in Automic. Notice the long description, which matches the description field in Automic. At this point, the user requests approval. Someone physically performs the requested change, and then approves the CR. The CR is approved, the workflow should be able to continue. The task is still waiting since it's set to a 1-minute polling cycle. We refresh to see where we are. The task completed. Let's take a look at logs and reports. This is the post request and the response. Notice the assignment group. These are the variables available at activation. This is the GET request. Finally, we see the approval status with the current value.